Mrs. Wheeler had a talk with Mrs. Carrington this evening.
Paige?
Mm-hmm. She went over to see her at the suite in the World Oil building.
I hadn't realized that Paige had moved back there.
She moved back after the funeral.
Well, I knew she was talking about it, but I was hoping that she and Dennis would work things out. Well, why would Iris want to speak to Paige if she's moved out? I should think Iris would be happy.
I don't know why Mrs. Wheeler went over there, but I do know that she and Mrs. Carrington had an argument.
Did Iris tell you that?
Yes.
Why in the world can't Iris leave that woman in peace?
Mrs. Wheeler told me that she ordered Paige out of the suite.
What?
But that's not all. She also told me that she told Paige she had to leave that suite by tomorrow morning.
She can't do that, Vivian.
Mrs. Wheeler claims that she owns that suite now. Mr. Wheeler left her the whole World Oil building.
Will you please tell Iris I want to speak to her
No,
now?
Please don't tell her anything that I said. She's going to know it came from me, and then she might fire me, too, because Mrs. Wheeler also told Mrs. Carrington that as of tonight, she's no longer working at the Top of the World Club.
She fired Paige?
It's a terrible thing that Mrs. Wheeler did. I know that. But Mrs. Carrington must have said something to make Mrs. Wheeler very angry. I really don't think that she would have done that otherwise. So please don't tell her. I told you because I thought you ought to know. And because I know how fond you are of Dennis and Mrs. Carrington.
You did the right thing, Vivian.
I'll bet Mrs. Carrington is really upset now.
To say the least. Well, don't you worry, Vivian. I won't tell Iris. But she's not going to get away with this.
I'm sorry for that misunderstanding.
Oh, that's all right, Alfredo.
Well, I tried to tell Mr. Adams, but he was so persistent.
No, don't worry about it, really.
I'm sorry you were fired. I hope you don't think I was to blame in any way.
Oh, no, Alfredo. I know Mrs. Wheeler put you in charge. I don't blame you for anything. I give Iris full credit for this one.
Well, if it's any help, I think she was wrong.
Thank you, Alfredo. That's very kind of you.
Hello, Paige.
Oh.
Hope you're not thinking of drowning your sorrows.
Oh, I thought you'd gone.
Well, I had. But I came down here for a little dinner.
Oh.
Actually, if the truth be known, I decided to hang around for a while. Make certain you were all right.
I'm fine.
Really?
Sure.
From the looks of things when I left, your mother-in-law was on the warpath.
Oh, Peter, I've lost everything. My home, my husband, my job, everything. I have nothing left. Nothing.
What happened?
Iris fired me. She told me to get out of the suite by tomorrow.
Can she do that?
Apparently she can.
You want me to call a lawyer and
No.
What are you going to do then?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is move out. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of throwing me out.
She wouldn't do that.
Oh, the second.
Where are you going to stay?
I haven't even thought about it. Probably in a hotel until I find a place of my own.
The offer's still open. We've got plenty of space.
No, thank you, Peter. I have to be by myself right now. I have a lot of thinking to do. I have to make some decisions.
I have to talk to you, Dennis.
Sure you wouldn't like a drink first, Dad?
No, I don't want to drink. I understand Paige moved out this afternoon?
Hey, look, I appreciate your concern, Dad, but what happens between Paige and me is our business.
Well, in that case, you'd better make that clear to Iris, because she doesn't seem to have gotten the message.
What are you talking about?
You don't know?
No.
Iris seems to have taken things into her own hands. She went to see Paige at the suite this evening and told her to get out. She also fired her from the top of the World Club.
Who told you that?
Doesn't matter who told me. What matters is it's the truth.
Did Paige send you over here to gain sympathy? Is that it, Dad?
I don't believe your reaction. No, Paige didn't send me here.
Well, it's just that it's something she would do.
Dennis, I don't think you quite understand the situation. Paige is very vulnerable right now. She's just moved out. She's alone. She's upset about your separation.
Why is it you're always sticking up for Paige?
Because you don't seem to understand what she's going
And you
through.
don't seem to understand what I'm going through. Paige lied to me. She had another life she didn't even tell me about.
I know why she kept the pornographic film a secret.
Well, she also kept secret the fact that you weren't my father.
But it wasn't her place to tell you
Was it
that.
her place to tell you?
Paige has made her share of mistakes, Dennis, just like everybody else in the world. The point is, she needs you now. She has no home, no job, no husband. She must be devastated by what Iris has done. She loves you, Dennis. Surely you have some feelings left for her.
You're right, Dad. I still have feelings for Paige.
Well, then you have to go to her, Dennis. Tonight.
Mr. Wheeler, there you are. I thought you were upstairs.
Now, what were you checking on, Mrs. Wheeler?
Yes, sir. She's asleep.
Well, you've had a long day. Why don't you retire as well?
No, Mrs. Wheeler's going to wake up in about an hour, and I want to be available. You know, she just doesn't sleep for very long periods of time now. She wakes up, she wanders around. When that happens, she kind of likes to have somebody around to talk to, and especially the state she's in now.
Why? What state is she in?
Well, everything that's been going on and everything. Can I get you something? Do you want another cup of coffee?
No, thank you, no.
It's a shame you didn't get to spend more time with your brother.
Yes. Do you have brothers and sisters?
No. I have a lot of cousins, so that's not the same thing. I just miss Mr. Wheeler.
So do I.
I don't know what Mrs. Wheeler's going to do without him. Her whole life revolved around him.
I'll have to learn how to live with her grief.
I've never seen her cry like that before. It just breaks my heart.
Well, that's a healthy release for her. She'll have to find things to keep her busy, to occupy her life.
The hearing's tomorrow. That's Dennis's sentencing. I think that if he goes to prison, Mrs. Wheeler's just going to fall to pieces and never recover.
From what I understand, he's got a good chance of getting a suspended sentence.
I hope you're right.